Here's something that should sound impossible. For most of human history, North and South America had no people at all. Zero. While humans were painting caves in France and building the first cities in the Middle East, an entire hemisphere, 2 continents, millions of square miles, sat completely empty of anyone. No footprints, no fires, no voices. And then, somehow, someone showed up. And within a few thousand years, their descendants had spread from Alaska all the way down to the tip of Chile. That's roughly 9,000 miles of walking, boating, hunting, and surviving through some of the harshest environments on Earth. So who were these people? Where did they actually come from? And why did scientists spend almost a century getting the story wrong? Let's go back to the beginning, because the real answer is stranger and more impressive than the one most of us learned in school. For decades, the standard story was simple. Around 13,000 years ago, a group of big game hunters walked across a land bridge connecting Siberia to Alaska, chasing mammoths through a gap in the ice sheets, and became the first Americans. This idea even had a name, the Clovis First Theory, named after distinctive stone spear points found near Clovis, New Mexico back in the 1930s. It was tidy, it was dramatic, and for a long time, almost everyone believed it. There's just one problem. It's probably not what happened, not entirely anyway. Let's start with the land itself, because that's where this story really begins. Around 20,000 years ago, the world looked nothing like it does today. So much of Earth's water was locked up in glaciers that sea levels dropped dramatically, by more than 100 meters in some places. And when the sea dropped, land that's normally underwater was suddenly exposed. Between Siberia and Alaska, this created something remarkable. Not just a narrow bridge, but a vast stretch of land, sometimes over 600 miles wide, connecting Asia and North America. Scientists call this Beringia. And it wasn't just a strip of ice and rock to cross quickly. Evidence suggests Beringia had shrub tundra, grasses, even pockets of small trees in sheltered valleys, enough to support mammoths, bison, and the people who followed them. Here's the part that surprises most people. Genetic and archaeological research now suggests that human populations may have lived in Beringia itself for thousands of years before ever continuing on into North America, not passing through, staying. Some researchers call this the Beringian standstill hypothesis. The idea is that a population became isolated in this region, cut off from Asia on one side and from the Americas on the other by walls of ice for possibly 10,000 years or more. Think about that. An entire population living in genetic and geographic isolation on a strip of land that doesn't even exist anymore. It's completely underwater today. We're talking about a homeland that vanished. So if people were essentially stuck there for millennia, what finally let them move forward? The ice. Around 16 to 14,000 years ago, the massive ice sheets that had sealed off the interior of North America began to retreat. This opened up what researchers used to call the ice-free corridor, a route between 2 enormous glacial sheets that theoretically allowed people to walk south into the heart of the continent. For a long time, this corridor was considered the answer. Case closed. People waited at the doorway, the ice melted, and they walked in. Except, the timing doesn't quite work. This is where the story gets genuinely exciting, because archaeology started throwing curveballs. Sites like Monte Verde in southern Chile have produced evidence of human occupation dating back roughly 14,500 years. That might not sound shocking on its own, but consider the geography. Monte Verde is about as far south in South America as you can get. If people were only walking through that inland ice corridor around 14,000 years ago, there simply wasn't enough time for them to travel thousands of miles down to the southern tip of another continent and set up a settlement. Something doesn't add up. And that gap is exactly what pushed researchers toward a different idea entirely: the coastal migration theory. Instead of trudging inland through ice and rock, evidence increasingly suggests that some of the earliest Americans may have traveled along the Pacific coastline, using boats, hugging the shore, moving from resource-rich bay to resource-rich bay. The coast, even during the Ice Age, likely offered kelp forests, shellfish, seals, and fish, a renewable buffet that didn't require chasing mammoths across frozen plains. This theory used to be considered a long shot, mostly because any coastal campsites from that era would now be sitting underwater, drowned by the same rising seas that erased the Bering Land Bridge. But recent underwater archaeology, along with genetic studies of coastal populations, has given the idea serious credibility. It's entirely possible that the first Americans weren't primarily inland hunters at all. They may have been skilled mariners, moving along an ancient coastal highway most of us never think about, because most of the evidence for it is now sitting on the ocean floor. And this is where things get even more fascinating, because it's not just one migration we're talking about. Genetic research on both ancient and modern indigenous populations across the Americas suggests there wasn't just a single wave of settlers. There appear to have been multiple, genetically distinct groups arriving over time, some more closely related to Siberian populations, others showing surprising genetic signals with almost no clear explanation. A few ancient skeletal remains, like the so-called Lucia woman found in Brazil, even displayed skull characteristics that initially puzzled researchers, sparking debate over whether multiple, separate populations contributed to the earliest Americans. Most of that debate has since settled back toward a Siberian origin for nearly all indigenous American ancestry. But the fact that it was even a serious question shows just how complicated this migration really was. So here's the twist. This wasn't one dramatic dash across a frozen bridge by a single band of mammoth hunters. It looks more like a long, patient, multi-generational story. People living for thousands of years in a now vanished homeland, then splitting off in different directions, some walking, some paddling along the coast, arriving in waves, adapting to wildly different environments, from Arctic tundra to tropical rainforest to the deserts of the American Southwest, all without written language, without metal tools, and without any idea they were making history. And maybe that's the most incredible part of this whole story. These people weren't trying to discover a new world. They were just living, following food, following seasons, following opportunity, the same way humans always have. They had no idea they were the ancestors of hundreds of distinct nations and cultures that would eventually stretch across 2 entire continents. We're still filling in the details. New archaeological sites and new genetic studies keep pushing the timeline earlier and reshaping what we thought we understood. Some researchers now argue for human presence in the Americas even before the last glacial maximum, a claim that's still hotly debated in the scientific community. The truth is, we may never have the full picture, but every new discovery adds another piece to one of the greatest migration stories in human history. We work very hard to make videos, so please like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next amazing video.